Hi, everyone.
Hey, Matthew, how are you?
I'm good.
Hello, everyone. Oh, dear. So we thought we'd just do something completely different tonight. And
Could have been the Star Spangled Banner.
put the stars on first.
Yeah.
So I'm just here to introduce a fireside chat with Matthew. He'll be telling you all about what it's about and what goodies you can expect to hear about tonight. Just a bit of housekeeping. Please do what that little Star Spangled Banner said to do. It actually looks a bit like that, doesn't it? Make sure that your friends and family know about this, because without your help, we can't reach many people, or as many people as we'd like to. So please do let as many people know as possible that Matthew is live here tonight, talking about some really interesting stuff, and there's lots of people who will benefit from hearing about this. The other thing is we also posted this live broadcast on pages, other pages, as well as mytimetv.live. So if you are on the Matthew Greenwood Spiritual Journeys page, if you're on the Women in Business Amplified page, or if you are over on the Be Live in 5 page, or anywhere else but mytimetv.live, come on over to mytimetv.live so you can talk to Matthew live. If you are on Matthew Greenwood Spiritual Journeys, you can still make a comment, because we are giving away, that's the royal him, hang on that way. Matthew is giving away again a spirit guide reading, which we'll talk about in a moment. He does this every week, but you can enter from either Matthew's page or My Time TV. So if you make a comment on either of those pages, you will get a message in your inbox asking you if you would like to register. If you do want to register, just say yes in your messenger and you will be registered, and the winner is drawn the following week. I missed a bit there. I know we had this beautiful lineup, so we'd segue into announcing last week's winner, but then I've just skipped a thing here. So,
good.
Well, we roll on. So the other thing I did want to share before I go is the Meditation with Matthew is a private community that Matthew is live in every Monday night for Meditation with Matthew, and you can share a little bit more about what happens there. But what I'll do is I'll pop the link to that community inside of the comments, and if people want to join, if you're not part of that community already, you're more than welcome to join. So now over to you. That segue was totally stuffed up, but the spirit guide reading, if you do make any comments, you will be notified by chatbot.
Thanks, Adair.
I'm out.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you very much. All right. So the winner from last week is Lee Williams. So if anyone knows Lee that's on board the show at the moment, let her know. But we'll be letting her know anyway in the next few days. And we'll book in a time so she can have a spirit guide reading. And just for anyone that has joined in and wants to know what type of reading I do, I think I just let it slip. It's a spirit guide reading. So I've been very blessed for pretty much all of the 30 years I've been doing this work to be able to see spirit guides. So, and not just spirit guides, but sometimes spirits that have passed over, and also ETs, so which we're going to actually be talking about tonight, our galactic family. So that's pretty exciting with a spirit guide reading. You quite often get an aura reading as well. Again, depending on how much time is allotted. We generally get a little bit of that in, so I see energy, feel energy as well, which can be quite interesting because it tells a lot about who you are as a person, your health on many levels, and that included with what guides have to say, it can get quite interesting. So look forward to sharing that with Lee. And please, if you want to book in for one of those, I do. I've been doing them for years over the phone, but I can do them on Zoom as well these days. And that's something that we can do anytime that fits in with both of us. You can contact me on 0410 658 797. I suggest you text me. That's something I'm going to pick up probably quicker than I will pick up with messages on Facebook. But we do get to them as well. Just call me a dinosaur. Look, I go for the more obvious communication. All right. So look, tonight we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about over the last, probably not all of the 30 years, but about 28 of the years that I've been doing spiritual work. It started gently at first, 28 years ago. It dropped off for a little while, and then it came in quite thick and fast, probably about 15 years ago. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the interconnection with many different beings that I've met, connected with, and a bit of insight into some of the different races that I've connected with, and just to give you a little bit of insight into who they are, what they're about, why they're here, why many of them here at the moment. It's quite exciting what's happening. But first, as we always do, we're going to start off with a very, very quick grounding exercise. So before we start, I'd just like to say a quick hello to everyone that's here. And we've got quite a few already. I'm not too sure exactly how many, but we've got Karen Jameson, we've got Sarah Cook, we've got Nige, we've got Christina and Donna and Roz. And we've got Adair back there too. But I know there are more. So thanks for coming in and saying hi. And if you've got any questions, I might not answer them just as they come up in regards to the Galactic Beings, but I will do my best to answer them, probably getting maybe in a batch or something. So, but let's do this little grounding exercise, which is meant to keep your energy stable. It's meant, the whole reason I put this together. I've been tweaking it over the years to get it quicker and more powerful, and it just takes a bit of consistency for you to be using this on a regular basis, not just once a week, but at least a couple of times a day. You've got to treat this stuff like cleaning your teeth. If you're going to look after your physical body, you have to wash it and clean it. We have to do the same thing for our energy. So this is something that I've found is most necessary for anyone doing spiritual work. And I know the feedback I get from all the people I give it to says the same thing. So let's go. It only take about 5-10 minutes. So alrighty. So get yourself nice and comfortable, and just to start with, close your eyes and nice deep breaths. And with those breaths, drawing a strong breath in, and keep that breath long and full. And with the breath out, same thing, long and full. And we've talked about this before. The breath in relates not just to taking in oxygen. It actually relates to taking in life force. There are many spiritual platforms that use the breath for accessing life force, from yoga, tai chi, qigong, martial arts. Very powerful exercise using the breath. All right. So with the next deep breath in, consciously knowing that you're drawing in that life force, and then with the breath out, I'd like you to push that life force down through your body, down through your base chakra and pelvic area, down through your legs, your feet, and then down into the earth. And just for a few breaths, keep doing that same cycle of breathing. This will help open up the channels through to the base chakra. Beautiful. So now, with the next deep breath in, again, accessing that life force, this time with the breath out, we're going to take it deeper, right down to the core of the earth, to your earth chakra. So deep breath in, and then with the breath out, pushing it down through your body, down through your legs, down through the earth, right down to the core of the earth, to your deepest chakra point in the earth. And of course, she has one down there as well. She has her core chakra. As we link our chakra, as we activate it, our deep earth chakra, it ignites and flows with the earth's core chakra. But it also interlinks us with all other spiritual beings on the planet that are literally walking their talk. They're living what their belief systems are around spirituality. That earth chakra for them is wide open. You could be thinking about the native cultures, the druid cultures across the planet. Hindu, Buddhist monks. There are so many different philosophies out there that are heart connected and have a wish for the same thing: peace, tranquility, non-judgment, love, no control, freedom. Freedom is a very scarce thing, even in Western cultures. So as you keep your life force anchored down into that earth chakra, feeling that deep connection, and then gently bringing your awareness from there up into the center of your body. Imagine you could stretch your awareness from, say, your third eye. Imagine it doing a loop and diving into your center. Deep within your core of your body, there is a light, an energy source. This is the God force. That pure, clean, high vibrational energy of Great Spirit, Creator, Tonkashala, as the Lakota people say. As you feel or see that light, now begin to expand it out from deep within. Imagine it as it comes out through your energy system, coming up through into your physical body to start with, connecting with every cell in your body, every aspect of your physical, from the organs, the muscle tissue, bones, the glands, your skin, blood vessels, even through into your breath. And then beginning to expand that out beyond the physical, out into what I call the human aspect of the energy system, which is about 7 energy bodies out, roughly around 3 to 4 meters for the majority of people, but can extend out to at least 5 meters for people that have been doing a lot of spiritual growth. So imagine filling that space, that 3 to 5 meter space in all directions around you. And now, as you build that light up, imagine filling that space up until there isn't any more space to fill, and then keep filling it, like you're putting that light under pressure. And at the count of 3, I would like you to just let that light explode out limitlessly. No boundaries, knowing that you're actually expanding it out into the fullness of your energy system. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, let it go. And as you hold that space, knowing and feeling just how expansive you really are. But then you have to still work in a physical body. So without pulling that light in, we want to keep that expanded out. But just bringing your awareness back to your physical body, and just go back to regrounding your energy just down through the base chakra is enough. So taking a couple of breaths, pulling in that life force again, and then breathing down through your body, your base chakra, your legs, your feet, and then down into the earth. And then when you're ready, no rush, you can open your eyes and try and remember that you're in a physical body. That does take you very much out there. Just a quick explanation of what you've done. You've grounded your energy very deeply as you can get. You leave your energy much stronger and much more stable by doing that on a regular basis. And by expanding that your God force from within outside, and just expansing that out through every aspect of your energy system. This raises your frequency. This actually helps you to raise your frequency above fear, above anxiety, above any negative thoughts that you're carrying, the more you do this. And it also has a huge positive effect on how sometimes we take on other people's energy. And sometimes people project that energy on purpose. And so it's a good thing to use this light to be able to keep your space clear. All right. So how's everyone feeling? Good, I hope. So that's the beginning. All right, so let's get into this. So over this last 28 years, I have experienced a lot of things. Sometimes it's hard to keep to remember everything that's gone on, because I take this work pretty seriously. It's something that I've pushed through many boundaries to do to get to where I've got, and still got a lot more to go, I know. And but things are changing very rapidly for us now, and because our vibration is changing, because for the last 11 years there's been an energy shift that's a constant energy shift, that's a constant, consistent raising in frequency of our environmental energy. So this has a lot to do with why there's a lot of galactic beings around watching, observing us now. They're actually pretty excited for what they're seeing happening to us. But I'll get back to that. So with this energy, what it's doing to us to start with is we're actually changing. Our whole energy system is becoming more expansive. There are parts of our energy system that have kind of been dormant, been asleep. And as this frequency continues to raise around us, our energy's actually starting to wake up. But there are aspects of our energy that have been dormant for millions of years, generation after generation. And this is where our connection to the galactic beings that are here with us stems from. So they're actually our family, but I'll take it back a step, and I'm just teasing you with some of this to start with, but all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle will start to come together. This is the story I was told by a group of beings that have been watching our planet for millions of years. This is an exercise that's been going on, that was started many millions of years ago. There was already a species of man, if you like to put it that way, here on the planet. And what happened, there are many, many races within the universe that were, let's say, seemingly eternally in conflict. And many of the leaders were trying to actually snuff this conflict out, but it was very difficult to change. It was something that was very ingrained. And so these leaders began to get together and talk about a plan. Now, just as there are elders and leaders on planets, there are actually more supreme beings, if you want to call it that, or higher vibrational beings that are non-specific to a planet, but live on a multi-dimensional level and have been existing for millions of years. Their lifespan is basically almost endless. You can call these elders of the universe. So these elders were asked to formulate a plan to help bring balance to this conflict that was eternally there. So what they did, they placed a group, a number of each one of these species on the planet. Now, you've got to remember that the majority of these species came from a higher vibrational level. Their energy was running at a higher vibration. Their planet's energy was running at a higher vibration. So here they come to planet Earth. They begin to interact. I was told also that they came here by choice, but they had to make this fair. They had their conscious memory, if you want to call it dampened, shut down. So what they were left with was instinctual memory, how to live, how to survive, what they need to eat, all of that kind of thing. And so then I guess you could say the fun and games began. So all of these different species, some fought, some got along. Majority of them seemed to get along to a point, And as time went by, there was interactions between species, and then DNA from each species began to exchange and interact. And then they interacted also with all the species that was already here on the planet. And so after a while, it became a bit of a mixing pot of many cultures. But one thing that happened was their vibration began to dim. So their vibration came down to a similar vibration to the being that was already here on the planet, the humanoid form. Now, as that happened, there were things that began to change within all of those different species. Some were still pure, some were a mixture of many species. But what began to change was due to all of their vibration lowering. And so what happened was many of them, their abilities began to dim, and their, let's say, their ability to interact on an energetic level with their homeworld just through thought. And they were pretty much isolated then here. And so take it down millions of years, and here we are. We're a product of that beginning. So what did they hope to get out of this? It was always going to be a long-term plan. It wasn't a short-term fix, not a band-aid. So the idea was to observe how we began to work out our differences. And this was something that has been eternally changing, and some aspects of this haven't changed over many, many millions of years, but others have developed and have evolved. And so what's happening now, and this is the big thing why we're changing so much now, is because going back to vibration, the planet has been at a certain vibration for millions of years. As our environmental energy is raising in frequency, that's beginning to trigger the dormant DNA that's within us. Now, this is where it gets exciting. Previous to me getting into spirituality, I watched a series on TV. It was actually I only watched one part of the series. This was previous to 30 years ago, so it went back a while. And I watched the one show. It was about the physical body, and I think it was over about eight nights. I only ended up seeing the one on the hour on DNA, and because I didn't really know what DNA was back then. And so it was very interesting when they were describing our DNA. They used an animated imagery to kind of get this across. So they had a filing cabinet, and this scientist then began to pull this bottom file drawer out, and he just kept pulling it, and it was out about 30 or 40 meters, and it was jam-packed full of files. Then he picks out the 12 files at the front of the drawer, and he says, "This is human DNA. All the rest is just rubbish DNA that we've carried for millions of years." Well, look, even back then, maybe 40 years ago when I saw that, there was something that didn't click with that. It's like they were skimming over something quite huge, but I didn't know back then what it was. And so what I could do, the only thing I could do was put it on the back burner. So then bring it forward to what's going on now. As I said, this high vibrational energy started to come in about 11 years ago. And what I've been seeing in people's auras over that time is a lot of change. There's parts of the energy system that I haven't seen before that are lighting up. A lot of it is to do with our glands. And now what's happening is as the frequency around us raises, what it's doing, it's triggering that not rubbish DNA, but dormant DNA to wake up. So I'm just looking here, something Donna's put. They still don't understand what it's for, so labelled it junk DNA. Thanks, Donna. Yeah, so, but they don't, my feeling is they do know what it is, they're just not telling us, because this has been the agenda for the military, the governments, is not to tell us because they don't think we're ready for it. Well, we're far more ready for it than they are, I think. That's the issue, more like it. So anyway, I promise I won't get up on my soapbox just yet. So what's going on with this is it's been changing even our physiology. Our physiology has been impacted by particularly the glands that have been waking up, probably more so over about the last 7 years. Our bodies have been going through a lot of adjustments, because as this DNA wakes up, the glands are there to keep what they call homeostasis, which is to keep balance, to keep everything, all the physical body in balance. But what's been happening is as this DNA begins to wake up from a dormant state, then of course there's interactions going on with that dormant DNA that's not so dormant anymore, and the physical body that's already functioning as well as it can under the circumstances, the set of circumstances we're in, with stress and, you know, high levels of toxins all around us and all of that. And so what is going on is the glands are have been taking up the slack of this DNA waking up. And we've been going through, physically, we've been going through quite a lot of stuff. And I've talked to people, medical people, and they've seen this happening in clinics. And I've talked to other practitioners, they've seen this happening as well. So things like, and this is what the glands actually help to govern. So, you know, the pineal and the pituitary, people's psychic abilities, obviously going through some, let's say, openings and then shutting down openings, but also more physical things like your sun sensitivity. Sometimes, you know, just a normal day and you go from inside the house to outside the house and everything seems really glary. That's one thing related to the glands in the brain. Also, your sleeping habits. Many people have been waking up at 2, 3 in the morning, and this is still happening. It's not happening as much now because the glands have already started to open up. It's already, they're kind of already in that action of bringing this new DNA or the dormant DNA online as it comes into play. And it's not all happening at once, because each level of that DNA is reactive to a certain vibration, because this is relating back to the beings that DNA comes from. So what's some other things? Adrenal overload when there's no reason for it, particularly with women. Menstrual cycles have been when it may be normal. It's quite good. Can have been all over the place, and then it goes back to normal. And look, I've talked to medical people, and they've said, "Wow, this is fantastic. You're telling me this because we've been sending our clients off to get tests, hundreds of dollars worth of tests, and they're coming back normal. There's nothing wrong with them. And they can't make out why the glands are doing this and why they're reacting so. But this is why. It's this dormant DNA that's becoming active." So let's talk about where this DNA comes from. I guess I've got to start from the beginning as much as I can, because we do only have about half an hour, but I might extend it a little bit longer than 8 o'clock tonight because of what we're talking about. So first connection was, if you ever want to go, if you're in Adelaide and you ever want to go somewhere where it's a little bit spooky at night, but the energy is quite really interesting, it's a bit spacey, is Black Hill Conservation Park. It's a great place to go up to. There's a special place that I've been to. I was asked to go along with a group up there, and we did open eye meditation up on the mount, and looking up at the stars. And what I saw, and we were all just kicking ourselves. I'd never done anything like this before. This is the first time I'd ever had an experience like this. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. In fact, I thought probably nothing was going to happen, but I'll get a good look at the stars. So as I looked up, and everyone started to quieten down and started to get into a meditative state, I'm looking up and I see this little patch of sky that seemed to, it's like you concertinaed a piece of paper, made it look, if you see my hand, it made the paper go like this. But if you're looking from underneath, the stars, were just looking really weird in that area. What I was looking into, I learnt later, was a porthole that was opened up for me to see. So as soon as I looked in it, as soon as I focused on it, bang, I found myself on board a craft, and I was basically being given a guided tour. So it went from one craft to another. I ended up seeing 4 craft. Not all were physical beings. One in particular was a light being, but almost crystalline in nature. But the others were pretty much physical, just different shapes, I guess you could say, but mostly all humanoid in appearance. And this was where they gave me this. I was told this story about the beginnings of humanity, but also why these beings are here. Now, there are quite a lot of groups watching us at the moment, but this particular group that I initially communicated with, they're descendants, I guess you could say, of those first beings that were placed here on the earth. So there's many races that are working together to watch how we work through our stuff. Now, it's not just how we work through our stuff with each other, it's how we work through our stuff internally as well. So those battles that we have with ourselves sometimes, the darker side of us, and there are many different races that I've had the privilege and joy to experience. Some are quite non-emotional, but majority of them are very emotional, and they can be reserved at times, because what they're doing is they're working to, I guess you could say, an agenda that the amount of use or the amount of help they can be to us relates to this agenda, because we still have to be given the space to evolve naturally as much as possible. The reason why they are working with us a lot is on a negative level. There have been many, many beings over the millions of years that have come in and have affected us in negative ways. And so I guess you could say that balance or that set of scales of here's the negative beings that have had influence, that can be balanced out with positive influence from these beings, just to, I guess give us a fair go. So there have been many cultures on the planet where extraterrestrial races have certainly been involved in the power or them coming to power. Probably the most famous one would be Atlantis. And it's why Atlantis was basically just pulled into the ocean. The Earth had enough of the abuse from an ET race that came in to help empower and to take energy from the people on the planet. Using crystalline power, there was a lot of horrible stuff done back then. For the first 15 years of the spiritual work I was doing, I was pretty much helping to repair a lot of that damage that was done to people, mostly practitioners that were just starting to wake up. And so that's one culture, that the Atlantean culture was probably one of the biggest, and I guess the most explosive, because basically the Earth had had enough and it just revolted, and it just took the whole Atlantean continent into the water. So she doesn't let us get away with anything, and that's why we have to be so careful now, because we're still on a bit of a knife edge at the moment. So then, of course, another one would be the Aztec culture. It's amazing that they just seem to disappear from sight. That was another one where it just got out of hand. Egos became very inflamed because of the power that they were taking from people, manipulating. And gee, it sounds like what's happening now, doesn't it? Anyway, back off the soapbox, Matt. And then, of course, the time of the pharaohs. That was another huge time where extraterrestrial races were coming in, acting like gods, but they weren't gods. They were just ET beings that were very derived and purposefully coming here to take our power, to manipulate for energy. And so these are the negative aspects. Are they not here anymore? Yes, there are negative beings here. Most people are probably familiar with the most well-known one that has afflicted many of us, which is reptilian beings. And to be honest, they're pretty much almost phased out on a lower vibrational level, but there are still very many of them on a higher vibrational level that are, let's say, I'm not going to name names here, but they are behind and work very actively with many politicians throughout the planet. Very power hungry politicians. So I'll let you work that one out for yourself. These beings have an understanding. They know that their time is coming, and so that's why a lot of these these positive beings are coming in, because there's more space for them to come in now. And beings like the reptilians know, with this raising of frequency, this constant raising of frequency is going to be happening for another 84 years or so, I've been told. And so this is quite powerful. And so the changes that have gone on over the last 11 years, while that's been coming in, imagine what's going to happen over the next 84. Now, what's happening with this, and this is the big thing, a lot of people over our time, my time of, the last 30 years, they've been very, there's a lot of fear that comes in when they start thinking about all of these negative things that are happening to us, that I've talked about in the last couple of Thursday nights, that are going on, that are affecting us. And they've all been wondering, how do we stop this? How do we fix this? Well, the funny thing is, a lot of it we don't even have to touch, because this high vibrational energy that you can't stop, there's nowhere to run from this. And so what's happening is there's kind of a rule of thumb in shamanism, and that is, if you have negative energy within you, whether it be old emotions, negative thoughts, negative patterns that you want to release, well, generally you have to do a lot of work to get it up to the surface. Well, what's happening now is you can help to bring that up with that core star energy, that God force that we just tapped into earlier on. But what is a no-brainer is what's happening around us. We can't escape from this raising in frequency. So that's impacting not just us, but what it's impacting is all of these negative forces on the planet, and all of these negative manipulative systems that exist on the planet. Now, like I said, it's kind of been taken out of our hands, this one, and all of these systems are starting to fall apart. And And there's a little help, from our friends that's bringing that on too. And so there are many beings that are not just observing us, but they're actually coming in and supporting us in a lot of many ways. Now, when someone comes in, when I have a client that comes in to see me, and they've got some of that junk DNA that's not so dormant anymore, coming up to the surface and basically interacting within their aura, which means they end up having certain abilities that stand out that not everyone else has. These generally relate to a particular ET race. And what I generally see, not only do I see guides when they come in to see me, I actually see the galactic being, or a representative of that galactic race that relates to that DNA. And why they're there is to help support those changes that are going on within the person, but also to give a little bit of information on what those abilities relate to, and how they can help that person, and the bigger picture of why they're here, and what they can be doing to not just help themselves but help humanity, which is pretty exciting stuff. And I mean, they've said it to me, even my guides have said it to me, that at no time on this planet ever has there been so much spiritual growth. So there's been civilizations that have just seemingly come out of nowhere, really intense, in an intense space and in an intense time, like the Pharaohs, like the Aztecs, like Atlantis and Lemuria, but not en masse throughout the planet. What's happening now is this is happening en masse. And look, I've met many many representatives, many elders from native cultures now, and they all say the same thing. They knew this time was coming, and they call it a coming together of the tribes. Now, most people think of those tribes as just us, beings on the planet, but it's not. It's actually the coming together of the tribes is actually our galactic family as well. And this is where it gets really exciting. So, look, let's, wow, 10 to 8. How quickly did that go? And so what's going on now is many of these races, and there's many new ones that are coming in as well. And so that's really exciting too. So I'm just going to pick a handful of beings that have been here and working with us. Where shall we start? Okay, so look, one of the first ones that actually connected with me in probably the last, let's say, 15 years is what I call a mantis being. Now, there are many varieties of mantis beings, and some have had a reputation of working with reptilians. So these ones at one time have, but they don't anymore. They worked with them many thousands of years ago when their race was very different. So they told me a little bit about their race, and so what's going on is, for them, if you take it back about 3,000 years ago, their race was very warlike. They still have those qualities, but they use it more for security these days, and sometimes that ability to of warfare, that ability to be able to go into war to protect, is needed, and so they are normally here as a protective nature. And what I find is there seems to be at least one with a lot of the people that come to see me. And it's interesting because I've got a long history with one that has been with me for many of those 15 years. And back then, when when they first, let's say, began to evolve, around about 3,000 years ago, they were very hard. They were very hardened warriors. They didn't care who they killed, who got in their way. They were incredibly sensitive. But the funny thing was, the part they were blocked off to was feeling the pain that they inflicted on others. So what happened that many years ago, that whatever it was changed in them, and they started to feel the pain they were inflicting on others. Now, what changed within them is you can't unfeel that stuff once you start to feel it. So it turned their whole society upside down. What they ended up doing, it took many, many years for them to actually bring it into balance, where they started to restructure their lives, because they couldn't run from it, kind of like us now. We can't run from this high vibrational energy. Same thing for us. Now, that cold-heartedness that they were has now developed into not just security purposes or security abilities that they have, but they have incredible abilities to read energy, to see that they've actually find themselves as good mediators out there in the universe when there is conflict, rather than going into battle, to bringing leaders together to work together. But the ability that they have, and maybe this might ring true for some people, because we all have elements of this mantis energy in us, because they were one of the original species. And so what they have the ability to do is to read our energy, or read the energy of a being, long before it gets to a point where, the hand clenches up from getting stressed about something that was just said to them, before they start to sweat, before they start to get angry. They can see or feel the chemical changes going on within the being, the physical body of the being, and because they can read that being's energy, they know exactly what to say just to keep that being calm, or that person calm. So this is a quality that they have, which is incredibly valuable when you're actually doing counseling work and mediation. Now, if you have a look at human nature, how much do you see that cold-hearted nature, where people on this planet just don't seem to feel the pain that they inflict on others? I mean, you could go on and on about it, and yet again, we're changing. People are becoming more spiritual. Even military people are becoming more spiritual. That you're just going to have to take my word for it, because I've met quite a few over the years. And so that's just one race. There's another race that's incredibly spiritual, but their story is I guess, I'm trying to put it in a polite way, they became so spiritual, they put themselves above every other race that they knew of. And so they, in that goal to become, the most superior spiritual race in the universe, they decided to separate themselves from all other beings, because they said it conflicted with their spiritual growth. It lowered their vibration, and they found themselves tainted by other beings' energy. That sounds like arrogance to me. I don't know about you, but they actually started to realize after many, many years, not just hundreds of years, but thousands of years, that they'd actually stopped growing. They couldn't grow anymore, because the reason they grew was by interacting with other species. And no, they weren't the only teachers. They found beings out there that were actually more spiritual than them. But in their quest, they shut themselves off from every other species and every other form of spirituality. Now, again, does that ring true for any religions here on the planet? I'm sure you could think of a few. So with all of these different races, they all have an aspect that's within us. And this just goes on and on and on. There are, what's another one? There's one that's been coming in just lately. I haven't seen these before much. And these are beings that I guess you could say look like the typical extraterrestrial being with the long, elongated body, long arms, long fingers, but not a grey, not a short one that's only about 3 to 4 foot tall. I'm talking about 7 foot tall and semi-transparent, so not 100% physical, but incredibly intelligent. They do have a bit of a sense of humour, and they're deeply spiritual as well. And they're sharing with us, helping us to understand about vibration, because that's their thing, because at will, they can slip in and out of dimensional space. And it's not just in and out of dimensional space, but also in and out of time. So everything is vibration. They have the ability to do that, and they can actually help show us how to do the same thing. So it's quite powerful, what all of these different beings are capable of. But you know what? We are too, because there's already that's starting to happen with many people I know, that we're discovering these other abilities we have. Just for myself, and the interactions energetically I've had with these beings, they sometimes, obviously, they're not here physically yet. Well, they have been here physically, but when they communicate with us, they talk through thought, and they can project their energy. Sometimes they're not actually far from us. Sometimes they're in craft around the planet, or behind the dark side of the moon. And there are places where they are close by. And so when they project their energy, they can find us because they relate to, each being has an energy signature. Once you've connected with that being, you just know intuitively their energy signature. Well, I've found I can actually travel to them, and that kind of surprised them a little bit. But I've heard of other people doing the same thing, and so the other thing that's been going on for them, and this has been changing over the last probably 2-3 years more intensely, because this was always a bit of an unknown, just how this was going to be happening with us, how these changes were going to be occurring with this raising of frequency that's going on everywhere. They had an estimated, more like guesstimated, time frame of how long it was going to take for us to grow, step by step. But what's happened, that has actually changed rapidly. Where I noticed someone up there, Doogie, put time as speeding up. That's part of the raising of vibration too, I've got to say. That the speeding up thing is about our placement within the universe. And the two go hand in hand, the raising of frequency and the time things speeding up. And it's not just old people saying that, it's young people are saying how quickly things are going too. And so they have the ability to work with both these particular beings. But just getting back to what we're capable of, and what they're seeing within us, the speed at which we're actually opening up spiritually and vibrationally has actually surprised them. It's taken them off guard. So they're having to work with their leaders, I suppose, to adjust how quickly, or how the amount that they can work with us. And so this is speeding up also, which is fantastic. And So what you're going to notice and find over the next few years is a lot more sightings. There are already a lot of sightings going on. Look, I highly suggest when you have a clear night, probably not a full moon, because the full moon actually sheds too much light, and sometimes there are things that are missed. But when you've got a really clear night, no clouds, spend at least half an hour to an hour, rug yourself up, go outside and hot cup of coffee or something, and go out there and just look up at the stars and look for movement. So yes, you're going to see satellites going across. Yes, you're going to see maybe a helicopter or a jet or something like that. But what isn't normal is when you see a shooting star that's going across and then all of a sudden it stops, banks to the right, and then three lights come out of it. Now, I've seen, and I've talked to other people that have seen the same thing happen on several occasions. So why this is being seen now is because of what they call disclosure. So this level of disclosure is happening gradually, and it's for us. So we don't get spun out about spacecraft landing, because the military will just make a meal of this and put the fear in everyone, and as the media do too. So there's probably plans already laid out if there was a craft that landed, how to make the people think we need to blow it out of the sky, when in fact that's not what needs to be done. And that's why this plan of disclosure is happening in a way that is appropriate for us to grow and for us to be comfortable with this. And to the point where we see that they're not a threat. God, if they were a threat, they could have wiped us out hundreds of times over. They're wanting to see how we grow because they're family. We're connected to them. So look, it's really a powerful thing, that, like I said, that is going on at the moment. And I highly suggest that you do what I suggested and just go out there and look up at the stars, because not too many people do. And it's important to get out of the lounge room and just spend a bit of time outside at night just to see what's going on out there, because this is actually about our future and what's coming. And something I talked about, I think, when I was doing the meditation, about finding freedom, because we're not free. We're told we're free, but have a look at what's been going on just recently over the last few months. We're not free. We're controlled and manipulated. Banking systems are manipulating us. The medical systems are. There's so much that is manipulating us at the moment. It's our right to be free. It's our right to live the way we want to live, not to be controlled by politicians who are actually being placed there by us. They're supposed to be working for us, but it ends up being the other way around. And this is what needs to be, they need to be reminded of this. And so look, what also is happening, just to finish off, what I've also been told is happening as this vibration begins to increase even further. What is going to be happening is new leaders, new young leaders are going to be coming through the ranks who are far different to the old school. And this will be the change that will bring in this new dawn, this new time that's coming. They say that this 94-year cycle that we're 11 years into at the moment is the beginning time, or the prequel to the golden age of humanity, which is 1,000 years of peace and tranquility. And so this time we're in is about clearing the debris, clearing all of the systems on this planet that don't function and don't allow us to be free and don't allow us to be in a state of peace and tranquility. And so this is something that we can really look forward to, these changes that are occurring. But there are times, it's not all in other people's hands. We have to also be alert, and we need to be, when there's something to fight for, then we need to stand up and fight for it. We can't just sit back and think other people are going to do it for us. And these beings aren't here to do that for us. They're here to help us down the track and support us, but we're the ones that have to change these old systems as well. So as these systems break down, then new systems need to come into play that will promote freedom and promote change, and that's what they're supporting, and they're working with people at the moment that are looking to do this sort of stuff, and it's incredibly important for humanity what's going on. Like I said, we've never been in this time before, so highly suggest you have a look at what's going on out there, and just as a starting point, look up at the stars. Sometimes it's not a good idea to believe everything you see on Facebook. There's a lot of misinformation that's put on Facebook to keep everyone in stress and in fear and going around and around in circles in their head. Believe me on that one, I've been told that, and just a quick look on Facebook will tell you the same thing. But it's important to know that the truth is coming, and that's what many of us are looking forward to. So, look, I hope you enjoyed tonight. I love sharing with you. There's a lot more where that came from. Let's see how we can sort of let that come up in the weeks, months to come, and see what changes come with it. So, look, I really look forward to talking with you guys, and maybe helping you out if you need be. The readings sometimes go beyond readings, and into healing sessions to help relieve yourself of old negative energy that's keeping you slowed down. And that's a lot of the work I do, is actually clearing energy, and some of it is to do with manipulation that's gone on in our lives. So the whole idea is about being free, like I said. And what's the old saying? The truth will set you free. Well, that's where we're going, and that's where we're heading. So look forward to it, guys. Great talking with you. And look, the one thing I would like to say also, just a quick one, is some of the stories I give. I was actually asked about this by someone. Some of the stories I give, the majority of them are factual, word for word. The people that have been involved in those stories, I keep them separated out of the story just for their benefit. I don't want to be bringing any conflict for people that have been a part of those stories, whether they be clients, friends, or family. So all of the stories are true. It's just the involvement of some people that may be not quite always how it's said, but the stories are true. And look, that one you can either trust me or not. I don't expect people to believe everything I say, because this stuff is a bit out there for some people. But it's important to know that this is my life. I'm not about to lie to people, and I'm here to help bring this truth to everyone. And there are many of us doing it now, and I'm glad that you could listen. So just like to have a quick look at some of the comments. So Rod said thank you. So did Donna. Patricia Brown said, if you ever take a small group to Black Hill Conservation Park, that might be a good idea. I've noticed also, I'm going to be naughty here and say something really terrible, but they fenced it off, and you can't get up there at night. But look, we jumped the fence, so I never said that. Doogie said time is speeding up. Karen said thanks tonight, Matthew. I have to go now. Very interesting information. See you Monday. Donna, we talked about what Donna said. It's labelled as junk DNA, but they don't really know what it is. So rather than look further into it or tell us the truth, they'll just give us something that's very dumb. So look, I think that's everything I can see. There we go. Yeah, I think that's everything. So again, like to thank you all. Oh, hang on, we've got one from Christina. Wasn't City of Adelaide the landing pad for spaceships long ago? Good question. But one thing I've got to say about Adelaide, and I can say this because I'm not from Adelaide originally, is I'm from Brisbane originally. I came here about 31 years ago, and all my spiritual opening happened here in Adelaide. Now, this will be a short story, but Adelaide is basically built on crystalline energy. It's all up through the Adelaide Hills, particularly through Mount Crawford Forest. And that's why Mount Crawford Forest tends to stand out more so than Kaipo Forest, is because that crystalline energy is very strong up through this area. Fortunately, I'm only about 10 minutes from it. And that's why I run workshops and do a bit of stuff out there. But the other thing that was found years ago when I first started in this, there were guys going up into White Rock Mine, which is at the top of McGill Road. I think I'm not too sure if the mine's running still or not, but they were mining road base. And so what was happening in the ground, in that top of that mountain ridge where they're getting the road base from, they were finding crystals, and I'm talking not just little ones. I'm talking crystals up to about 2.5 feet long. You know, what's that, about 775 centimeters long? That's pretty big. Not 75 millimeters, 75 centimeters. So it's about 3/4 of a meter long, and clusters of them. Now, did they care about those crystals? Did they pull them out and donate them to museums? No, they actually crushed them up and used them as road base. And boy, was there a stink amongst all of the New Age people back then. But what they didn't get was that all of that crystalline energy is now in road base throughout the Adelaide roads, everywhere. The major part of the road base that is used comes from that area. So there's crystals throughout the road systems in Adelaide. Don't know about the past. There are many portholes, ET portholes. A lot of the ET movement that's happening here on the, let's say, on the ground, doesn't come from them coming through craft. It comes from them coming through portholes, and it's a little bit like the Stargate thing, but not quite so fancy. It's actually more about a use of energy, a use of vibration, and being able to calculate that vibration and manipulate that vibration to suit where and when they want to actually travel to. So there are many portholes throughout the Adelaide region. But Mount Crawford does seem to have quite a few of them up there, and they're even under the water. We've discovered that too. So you can look. Actually, water's a good one to see if there's any big portholes. Look in dams, because dams are great, or reservoirs or weirs are good for hiding portholes. But what they can't hide is if you've ever seen that the tests they do with water, and they put water on a speaker, glass or something over a speaker, and you see the water dancing on the glass. Well, same thing happens if there's a porthole underneath the water of a weir. The ripples over the top of where that porthole is are completely different to the ripples on the water everywhere else. It actually stands out like the proverbial. So which is very interesting when you start to see. It's like everything we get here and there is like a piece to the jigsaw puzzle. Then when you start putting them together, it's actually quite exciting to see how it all happens. So Christina says, I had a lot of activity over Cheltenham where I grew up. Yeah, look, like I said, I wasn't, I'm not from here, but so that's interesting. But there is a lot of ET activity going on up above us now. And so tonight's maybe a good night. I don't know if it's a clear night out there or not, but has been the last few nights. So go and have a look. All right, guys, that's it for me. Till next Thursday when we continue our little chats. And for anyone that wants to come into the Monday night meditation, look forward to seeing you then. And just look out for the links to that in the half hour or so before the event. So here, Donis just said it's the full moon tonight and the super moon at that. So look, it's still going to be bright out there. You're still going to see it. So go out and have a look, rug up, have some fun. All right, guys. Thank you very much for being here tonight and all your questions and the conversation. And look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.